We ain't gonna even address that stuff. It's the past and what have you. But what did you learn from that whole experience? Just having to go through what you went through.
God is great.
Is it that simple?
God is great. Don't get no simpler than that, bro.
Did you know that? I mean, everybody knows that, but the way you know it now, did you know it before that incident took place?
You can know it all you want, but until you got to pick up that cross that you can't carry, and he picks it up for you and carries you and the cross, then you know.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Holiness and Hoops podcast. I'm your host, Joel Path, and today we have a very special guest, Isaac Traudt. Today's episode number 7, so first one of 2026. Have some big plans for the upcoming year. I'm hoping to get a variety of guests and kind of starting off a good slate in my eyes with Isaac. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely, thank you.
So we'll kind of go through the episode like we always do. And start off with talking about Isaac, and then we'll do our recent scores around college basketball. Then we'll get into our questions and conversations. So, Isaac is a forward from Grand Island, Nebraska, obviously playing for Creighton. He played his high school ball for Grand Island Senior High. He averaged 23.1 points and 8.3 rebounds his senior year, en route to being the Nebraska Gatorade Player of the Year in 2022. And earning first-team All-State honors in 2021-2022 season, which is an award you also got your junior year. You then committed to play for Virginia under Tony Bennett, where you redshirted as a freshman, and you were part of the ACC honor roll that year. You then returned home to Nebraska, committing to play for Creighton under Coach McDermott. Your redshirt freshman year, you became the first freshman since 1998 to make multiple three-pointers in each of your first 3 games of the year. And you scored a career-high 18 points in 12 minutes versus Central Michigan that year before blocking a shot in your NCAA tournament debut versus Akron. Last season, as a sophomore, you averaged 4.6 points and 2.2 rebounds, had 11 points in 22 minutes off the bench in that key road win at number 14 UConn. And heading into this season, Creighton was 25-7 in your career when you play and make a three-pointer, versus 21-14 when that's not the case. So I don't know if you knew that, but and then this year you've obviously earned yourself a starting spot as a junior. You're averaging 7.5 points and 2.6 boards, and you tied your career high with 18 points and 7 boards to go along with that against Kansas State this past December. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm looking forward to kind of hearing more about your story. And so hopping into some recent scores from around college basketball. Yesterday was a really big slate of pretty key games. I feel like, obviously all conference games are key, but we're kind of starting to get down the stretch. Obviously, as you know, it gets kind of grueling at the end of January and all of February. Mm-hmm. So number 7 Nebraska took down Minnesota. They're 20-0 heading to Ann Arbor for number 3 Michigan on Tuesday. Number 22 UNC came back over your former school, Virginia, yesterday in a comeback win. I
saw
that. Beat them by 5. And then Villanova fell to UConn by 7 in overtime. West Virginia fell to Arizona by about 25. So all things assuming, UConn will be number 2 heading into our house on Saturday. Yep. And then lots of freshman performances yesterday. Kingston Flemings had 42 for Houston, and they still lost to Texas Tech behind JT Toppin. Number 11 Illinois beating Purdue by 6 was probably the story of the day, with Keaton Wagler dropping 42, going 9 for 11 from 3 as a freshman at Purdue. That's a pretty unreal performance. And then obviously you had Georgetown come back versus Providence and win by 3. They were down 20 with 17 minutes left in the game, and Georgetown just played some really good defense. And so obviously a huge win for Ed Cooley, making that kind of return, because that's always a anticipated game. St. John's beats Xavier by 5. Also another comeback win for St. John's for Rick Pitino's 900th win over his son. So
it's pretty cool.
Kind of a crazy little tidbit. And then Seton Hall loses to DePaul by 7. So they're skidding 4-game losing streak in Big East play. So
Seton Hall lost to DePaul?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Lost by 7. So kind of lots of parity in all of college basketball, but especially the Big East lately. But So we'll kind of ease into the questions. I have a couple kind of fun questions to start us off.
Yep.
And then obviously we'll get into some deeper stuff. But so first question off the bat, kind of who's the best player you've played against, and then also the most fun to play with?
That's a good question. The summer going into my senior year, I got invited to this NBA Top 100 camp with, going to be seniors and juniors and stuff. And there's only 60 guys invited that year because of COVID. So, I mean, my team alone, I had Kalel Ware, I had Stephon Castle, Jarris Walker. So that's 3 NBA guys just on my team.
Yep.
Every team had 4 or 5 NBA guys. So I don't know if I can, pinpoint a certain guy from that camp, but, like, those were the best players.
Yeah.
Now, now that they're in the NBA, obviously, like, guys in college now are better than they were when they were 17 years old. But
Definitely.
As far as guys where they are now, a lot of those guys for sure.
Yeah.
Favorite player to play with, Stephen Ashworth. It's probably Stephen Ashworth.
Okay.
Not just on the floor, he was amazing, but off the floor, unbelievable guy. And, he's doing really well in Germany now. But,
Yes, he is.
I mean, really all my teammates in Creighton have been super enjoyable. There hasn't been a single guy that I'm just like, I don't want to play with him. So I've been very lucky in that aspect. But Stephen was a great leader and a great friend as well. Still
Absolutely.
is, but yeah.
Awesome. And then do you have maybe a favorite memory over the course of your basketball career that you could pinpoint as like, maybe this is one of those times where you're like, obviously it's a grind day in and day out, but you're like, wow, that's when it really felt worth it. You know what I mean? Seeing some payoff or.
Yeah, the 2 court storms at CHI really stand out, UConn and Kansas last year. But, I mean, those are great. Those are fun to, storm the court and beat a number 1 team on your home floor. But for me, it's more about, like, the off the floor stuff, the plane rides with teammates, hotels with teammates, going to get food with teammates, just simple things like that I think most people don't appreciate as much as they should, and they kind of just take for granted, like the day-to-day stuff that we do. Like we practice, we lift, we recover and everything, but hanging out with teammates is a special thing and something that I've really emphasized the last 2 years for sure. So probably just all the off-court memories with teammates is the best.
Awesome. So now we'll kind of get into, obviously it's Holiness and Hoops. We'll kind of dive into the faith a little bit. So kind of just tell me about your faith life, denomination, kind of where is Isaac Traudt at in his life with his faith?
Yeah, I was born and raised non-denominational Christian, still am. So I just kind of grew up going to church every Sunday. Like that's just what we did. So I'm very thankful for that. And, I'm engaged now. So, hopefully when I'm able to have a family of my own in the next few years, that's something that we'll emphasize every single Sunday is going to church and worshiping and just being there. Because I think even at a young age, I didn't really understand what was going on that much. And especially like Sunday school, they taught us lessons and stuff, but it was kind of a daycare at times. But still, being there, being present was great for me to kind of get a head start on my faith and kind of lead me to where I am today. So I'm thankful that, we went to church every Sunday and obviously still non-denominational Christian. I haven't been to any other really churches other than, the non-denominational ones. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with my faith and obviously continue to expand it.
Yeah. One thing I just want to hit on that I kind of heard you just say is, you talked about just being in that environment. And I think for me, that's like one of the things that I think of as just a huge first step for some people who are kind of on the fence of of being in, testing out, is faith, is living out a life of that something I want to do. And it's like, in some of my classes lately, we've talked about that one of the things is you're the combination of the best 5 people you're surrounded with, you know what I mean? Kind of just their personalities and shining through. So I think just surrounding yourself with people in faith is really just a sort of a baseline place to start and just kind of see that impact in your own life.
Yeah.
But
when have you been a Christian your whole life?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I was born and raised Catholic.
Okay.
Went to Catholic school growing up, and obviously I would like to think that I've been okay, but there's just so much room for improvement, and I think it's just being in college is a time where everyone has lots of questions, and everyone we're deciding the habits that we're going to share with our future families, and really keep in our lives. So part of the reason I made this was just to keep that daily kind of reminder of what I want to be and whatever. So
cool.
but So, is there someone you can pinpoint as maybe the biggest impact or influence on your faith life, or has it kind of been a collective effort, like you mentioned?
Yeah, I'd say a collective effort, but one person that sticks out to me the most is my uncle. His name's Tim. He lives in Minnesota.
Okay.
He is just a man of God. Like, he lives out his daily life, trying to be as much as he can like Jesus. And that really has stuck out to me my whole life. He started out really, really low in the workforce, and by the time he retired, he was one of the top in command at Wells Fargo, over the entire country. So, I mean, I'm sure he had great knowledge of what he was doing, but I think that he got to where he was by how he treated people, his generosity, just being around him is always a joy. So, watching him live his life like that makes me want to follow him. Like, I really look up to him as a role model.
Yeah.
And the idea of being a Christian is, trying to live like Jesus did. And obviously all of us fall short because Jesus never sinned, and we do constantly every day.
Yep.
But just seeing him, and obviously he's a family member, so I'm very close to him. But he's kind of been a mentor and a role model that I've looked up to my whole life because of that.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So obviously we've all had, pain, struggle, times of just despair, all that in our lives. How has your faith really guided you? It doesn't have to be a specific experience, but just like, what's maybe that, some people just have those habits like they go to, like, maybe it's a certain type of prayer, or just like they need to go to a certain place, have that quiet time. Like, is there something that you do that maybe just kind of helps you overcome those times when life is getting harder?
Yeah, something I started doing recently is praying as soon as I wake up, and praying right before I go to sleep, so that I'm starting my day with God and ending my day with God.
Yep.
I think that's helped me a lot, because, there's a lot of, anxieties and worries that go through your mind, especially as a student athlete. We've got a lot on our plate. My plate's getting a little easier with the school part, being more online now, but
Yeah.
there's just a lot going on, and we're so busy, and it's hard to really dial into getting into the Bible, and that's something that I've done a good job of as well, making sure I read my Bible every single day. I just started the New Testament recently, so going through that again. But I try to read the Bible in a year, every year, kind of that whole, it only takes 15 minutes a day, and it's a lot. It's great but the downside of that is sometimes you get into the Old Testament, and it's just a bunch of names and numbers for days. Yeah. So you just have to kind of stay disciplined, and once you get through those moments, there's a lot of great history in the Bible as well. Obviously, all those stories. So just getting into the Bible every day, and starting my day and ending my day with God is kind of what I've been doing.
Yeah, I think I really like that, because I think that's really, I've been trying to make that a habit of mine too. And I saw something recently that was saying, like, even just starting your day with just like the prayer to, like, God, take control of my mind before I can, like, kind of just like letting God, like, really just, people make like the joke, like, Jesus, take the wheel, whatever, but like there is a certain, like, kind of handing it over to him before a day even starts, because like I think about how many things I stress out over, like, what if I just like, what if I would have started my day not already stressing about it, what I mean? So I think that's just a really key piece of it. But so kind of switching topics a little bit, for those people that don't know, you're a type 1 diabetic.
Yep.
So you've been a big influence and model for a lot of people through that, and just kind of for the short time I've known you, like, you can really see it on display within your personality and whatever too. But can you kind of just walk me through, like, what kind of role the faith has had in just, staying strong? Because obviously I bet it's been pretty hard at certain times and whatever. And just kind of like how faith has really been that guide between the intersection of health and basketball, when, you've set such a great role model for people.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's about perspective. I think I've done a really good job of being grateful for what I have as far as my diabetes condition. It kind of sounds weird to say that I'm grateful for having it, but in a way I am, because it's turned me into a person I probably wouldn't have been if I didn't have it. I'm way more disciplined now than I would have been if I didn't have it. I take care of myself, my body, way better than than I would have. So I'm very grateful for that. It's kind of a blessing in disguise almost. And now, I'm getting messages, emails all the time about, parents worried about their kids because they just got diagnosed with it, and they're going through the whole panic mode that me and my family went through when I was diagnosed at age 4. So I've had it for 18 years now.
Yep.
And it's tough, and I kind of tell them that, you need a good support system. Obviously, you need to take care of your health, be disciplined, but at the end of the day, like, it's just something you got to deal with, and, you can't control it. Just got to take care of it the best of your abilities. And the way I look at it is, it could be a lot worse. There's worse conditions out there. This condition is not ideal. It's very hard every single day, and I constantly have to monitor my blood sugars. But, I'm still able to do what I love every single day at a high level. So at the end of the day, I'm still grateful for everything that I've been through with that.
Yeah, and I feel like that kind of already gives you a leg up on it because you're not someone that just kind of lets it, like affect you or negatively affect you. Like, I feel like that's what's so special about the way you've attacked it is, like, not many people I feel like would be like, it's a blessing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think having that mindset is, it's just impactful for anybody else to hear that. So I applaud you on that.
I appreciate it.
But and we'll kind of dive into that a little bit later. The quote of the day that I picked out is from your FS1, like the story from the FS1 interview and whatever you did. So we'll kind of get into that later. But now, kind of going back to maybe sort of like the basketball and whatever. So obviously you're pretty hyped up recruit, out of high school. Had a couple of those Sports Center top 10 dunks and whatever.
Yeah.
But how did you stay rooted in the process? Stay rooted in faith, going through the process of when you were getting recruited by some of the biggest name coaches, that are going down, they're going to go in the Basketball Hall of Fame and stuff like that. Like, how did you stay rooted, kind of knowing what was important to you and really just not let it get to you in a negative way? You know what I mean? Yeah,
I think I did a really good job of being humble throughout high school.
Okay.
I had a very good high school career. AAU, high school basketball, like, I accomplished a lot of things. And at the time when I was getting recruited and everything, like, there were moments where I was like, dang, like, I'm pretty good. And then, you come back and you humble yourself and you're like, you haven't really done anything yet. Like, you had a good high school career, but this isn't the national stage. Like, this isn't the highest level of basketball that you want to play at. And, those coaches, most of them recruit off potential for the most part. So, that kind of brought me back down. And it's like, they know I can be good, but I haven't done anything yet.
Yep.
So that was kind of my mindset. And then going to college, when I went to Virginia, I didn't expect to redshirt. Like, that wasn't really on the table. But I'm very happy I did because I wasn't ready for ACC basketball. Like, I just wasn't physically there yet. So I'm very happy I did that now because I now have another year next year to really grow. But I think I've done a really good job in college understanding my role, and I don't expect to be a star. Like, I understand my role now. That's just how it's worked out for me, and that's God's plan for me, and I've loved it. Like, still think I've accomplished a lot, but I'm very grateful for every single day that I'm able to play basketball, whether that be as a starter, coming off the bench, whatever it is. I've been blessed in that way.
That's awesome. Yeah, so kind of building off that, so obviously you just talked about your time at Virginia, and then obviously you went through the whole transfer process then. I think it was kind of, obviously it was a couple of years ago, but now the entire transfer portal has completely changed.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's ever going to be that many cases similar to yours where, you see someone, like a homecoming to some people is nowhere near as important now when there's different types of money on the table.
For sure.
Or like different factors into that, NIL deals, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So kind of just walk me through the process of, deciding to come back home and just like kind of what was the main drawback to Creighton, and like just walk me through that.
Yeah, back then the portal, like you said, was way different. I did not come back for more money, like at all. That was not a thought. They could have paid me $0, and I still would have came here because I love my home state. I love being around my family, and that's, I don't take for granted, my family being able to come to every single home game and being able to see them go home on breaks and get home in 2 hours rather than worry about delays and flights and all that stuff, like I did at Virginia. So, I'm just very happy to be home, and I'm comfortable here. I love the people that I'm around. So I think, I think people were really mad at me at Virginia when I transferred because typically guys don't redshirt and then leave. And I kind of get that, but I transferred for the right reasons. I wasn't coming here to get a bunch more money or even playing time. Like, I just wanted to come home and play here and be around the people that I love. So, I will say I think I did it the right way, and I think a lot of people in today's world maybe don't transfer for the right reasons, and that's their thing. That's not that's not a knock. It's hard to blame someone that wants to go make significantly more money somewhere else because if you're working a 9 to 5 and someone offers you a lot more money, like, you're probably going to take it. But I feel like loyalty is kind of died in college athletics in a way, and I'm happy to be here for my 3rd year in a row, and I think stuff like that's just awesome.
Yeah, and I think you really just hit it at the end with the loyalty pieces. That's one of the things I've picked up on between you, Owen, Hudson, Jackson ties is like, for some of them, like for Owen, obviously there's the transfer, but then for Hudson, Jackson, and Ty, it was just about the initial commitment, whatever, and that was kind of the big thing is like all these other factors didn't play a piece. It was like that, like the home community, like, I mean, the loyalty is like different for each person, obviously, but like they want to play for these people because they have the, like I feel like the faith just really plays into it. Like I really see kind of the parallels between
For sure.
And so I think it's just kind of neat that you can kind of see all those parallels between 6 guys on the team or whatever.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
yeah. But okay, so now obviously to today's whatever, you're a junior on the team. You're one of the most tenured players on Creighton's team. Obviously, you have a whole bunch of new guys on the team.
Yeah.
Which is like the whole new kind of thing that you have to attack every year with how it looks like the trends are going. But obviously you're one of the more, like vocal leaders with these guys and just like making sure, I mean, obviously like it's your home state. So even outside of basketball, like making sure they're, just with Nebraska, even whatever.
Yeah.
But how have you kind of been able to grow in that leadership role, maybe use faith as that kind of that model for your leadership with all these new guys?
Yeah. Faith ties into everything that I try to do. And the way that I try to lead these guys vocally, I think I've grown in that area the last year. Because when I first stepped foot on campus, I didn't say a word. Like, I was mute. Like, I never talked, and Coach would yell at me every single day to do it. And now I think I'm one of the more vocal guys. So just trying to lead them, because when I got here, it was Call trying to help me out every single day. Like, he was kind of the vocal leader, and then Steven grew into that role as well. But the thing I try to do every single day, and have tried to do my whole career, honestly, is just lead by example. I don't complain. I just come to the gym every single day and work as hard as I possibly can. And a lot of these guys don't like school at all, but I try to set a good example with taking care of academics as well, and prioritizing that, because some guys don't realize it, but it is important to have a Creighton degree. Like, that's a huge deal. Like, when the ball's done bouncing, some of them maybe might not have to work again, I don't know, but for the most part everyone probably will. And having that Creighton degree is huge. Like, taking care of business academically is so important, and I think that's something that I've done a really good job of, but kind of encouraging these guys, like, don't skip class. Like, I know we get punished for not going to class, but just don't skip class. Just go to class, try to learn, sit in the first couple of rows, just do your homework, because, like, I know we're busy, but, there's not a ton of schoolwork right now. So just trying to get these guys to understand that, like, school is important too. I mean, obviously, we're here for basketball, but also for school as well. So that's kind of the main thing that I try to emphasize, when guys are kind of maybe complaining about going to school and stuff.
Yeah. And to kind of add on that, just from my perspective of what I've seen kind of just in practice each day, whatever, is one of the big things that I notice in you is like the accountability piece. And just like, when Coach Max get in someone's face or whatever, they're doing something wrong, like, you're not the type of person to shy away from it. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that in like terms of like you're fighting back, but I'm saying like it's like almost like there's that accountability and you're holding yourself accountable. And I feel like that's a really big thing with our faith, is like we need people to hold us accountable and like kind of supporting each other. And I've seen you kind of, picking other guys up, whether it's, doing the 22s and 33s at the end of practice or whatever, like you're always there with the guy next to you, and you know what I mean? So I think just from what I've noticed, like, you're one of the first people to be there, like kind of just taking the feedback, but then also holding other people and yourself accountable, which is something that's pretty special.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
But, so where do you see your faith life and your basketball life? You know, obviously they can be kind of two different areas, but obviously like the best is when we can kind of get everything starting to mesh together in this healthy way. Do you see a spot where those two things kind of really intersect, whether it's just whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I think it intersects everywhere, or at least it should, or I should try to have it intersect everywhere. You know, I need to treat every single day. I try to do a good job of this. Sometimes it's difficult, but I try to do a good job of, you know, every lift, every practice, to give it my absolute all for God, because He's given me the ability, the strength to be able to perform these awesome tasks that, you know, I dreamed of growing up. So, you know, and sometimes it's hard. You get kind of bogged down. It's a really long season, so every day you don't wake up feeling particularly great, like with your body and your mind and everything. But that's why prayer is so important in the morning, to ask God to kind of help you get through the day if there's days where you're not quite feeling it. So, but just treat every day like it's a blessing. You know, Coach's quote the other day was kind of talking about how this shouldn't feel like a job or a chore. Like, we're blessed to get to do this every single day, and blessed to be healthy. So I think just giving it your absolute all every single day is something where, you know, you can intertwine your faith in the basketball.
Definitely. Do you have any pregame routines where faith plays a piece in that, or?
Yeah, I always pray during the national anthem.
Okay.
I've just always done that, even in high school, even in middle school. I don't know if we did the national anthem in middle school, but if we did, I was probably praying during that. That's kind of my time to kind of just sit there and you know, kind of get my mind right, and, you know, pray for both teams to stay healthy and stay safe and travel home, and then, you know, just really that's about it. But then just be thankful for everything that I'm given and the opportunity to play in that particular game.
Awesome. So if your basketball career was over tomorrow, which, I mean, obviously that's like a hard thing to bring up, but I'm more so just using it as a piece of like, what of your identity would stay true because your faith has kind of instilled it? You know what I mean? Like what has faith kind of drilled down as, like, Isaac Traudt will be known for this no matter what he's doing tomorrow?
Yeah, I think, well, I know for a fact, in however many years when I, you know, when my career's over, whatever it may be, basketball, regular job, whatever it is, nobody's going to remember me for putting the ball in the basket. I mean, maybe some Creighton fans, maybe, but that's not what I want my identity to be, because if you put your identity in a sport, Scotty Scheffler was saying this in an interview about, you know, he wins almost every single weekend in golf, and he was just like, you're happy for like 2 minutes, and then it's just on to the next thing, and everything is just so fleeting. So if my purpose is in basketball, and say I'm done in a few years, like, then the rest of my life I'm going to be confused and just lost. So if your faith is secured in the cross, your identity, it doesn't matter what you're doing with your life. You could keep playing basketball, you could get a regular job, whatever it is. So I never want people to think of me as a basketball player. I mean, they might right now because that's what I do. But when my playing days are over, like, I want them to look at me and be like, that's a believer of God. Like, that's a man of God, someone that cares for others, someone that treats people well. Absolutely. That's what I want to be remembered for. So, you know, if I were done playing tomorrow, I hope people would view me that way rather than, you know, making 3-point shots in a corner or something like that. Like, that's just, everything's just so fleeting with sports that you have to be secured with God.
Definitely. So obviously, you know, getting to this point, there's, you know, you can think back to your AAU days or whatever. Like, it's been a grind from the beginning, if I'm calling that the beginning. How have you overcome the times where basketball and faith were clashing, you know? You know, I know for me, like, tournaments growing up or whatever, like, you have them Sunday morning when you're usually going to church or whatever. Like, I think that's probably the easiest one that people think of when they think of, like, sports and faith clash, because I think everyone who played sports growing up had that issue at some point.
For sure.
But, like, how have you just kind of, you know, like you said, there's days where you feel bogged down, and that probably is reflected in your faith too. Like, there's days you wake up and it's like, maybe your immediate thought isn't to start praying with God because, you know, you're worried about this or you're worried about that. So how have you really kind of overcome those clashes?
Yeah, it's very difficult. You know, I've had a lot of hardships with my basketball career, especially in college. Because, there's been games and stretches of every season where I've just kind of been disappointed in, how I'm playing, or maybe with my playing time and stuff like that, maybe I just wasn't doing as well as I should have. I don't know. But there's been times where I've really struggled with that, and just praying to God to help me through the tough times, but understand that, at the end of the day, it's just a game. Like, we're literally trying to put a ball in a little hoop. And it's a form of entertainment for people, like it really is.
Yep.
And we love playing it because we've done it our whole lives, and it's year round now. But at the end of the day, we're just putting a ball in a hoop. Like, it's not the end of the world if we don't play well or don't play as much as we should. So kind of having that perspective, and there's definitely been times where my faith's been tested because things haven't been going my way on the basketball court. Mm-hmm. And then you just come back and recollect yourself and understand that it's just a game.
Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of whatever, like, advice kind of question. So I always do this as a two-parter. Advice for young people who are, I hope that we can sort of kind of get faith in these kids' lives from a younger age, that it doesn't take until, say, college for them to be exposed to it. Mm-hmm. So, like, let's just say there's a 10-year-old and he's, going out for basketball next week, and then he's also going to start going to church next week. Like, what are your advice on those two different scales of basketball and faith for some young kids?
Well, I'd emphasize church for sure. Tell them that's the most important thing by far, because that'll being saved by Christ is the single best thing that you can do in this world. And then basketball wise, I wish I could go back and kind of tell my 10-year-old self to not take it so seriously, especially at that age. I treated every single game like it was a NBA Finals game, and probably stressed myself out a ton, especially, elementary, middle school, and even high school. Every game would just, it would stress me out. I would be so worried about how I was going to perform and if we were going to win or if we weren't going to win. And now looking back, I only remember probably 5 games from high school really vividly, and that's it. And so I probably just took it too seriously growing up. And now, obviously, I need to take it seriously. Like, this is a big stage. Like, every single game really, really matters.
Yeah.
But growing up, I wish I had more fun with it and just kind of played more loose, played more freely. And, back to the faith part, I would just say to really emphasize that, that has to be a priority every single day. Like, you can't take days off with your faith like you can with basketball. So that would be kind of the main thing with the faith aspect there.
No, I think that's really good. And I think kind of adding on to that, I think, too, is there's ways to find the fun in faith, too. Because I think that's one of the big things is, like you just talked about the quote from earlier this week about making it feel like a chore or whatever. I feel like that's one of the biggest things holding people back in their faith lives is it's like, okay, I got to spend 10 minutes praying, or I got to do this, I got to read my Bible. And it's well, once we hit the point of it's like, shoot, my week is not going to go how it should if I don't go to church, if I don't spend time in prayer, using that as the building block, I think is key, and just understanding, it shouldn't feel like a chore, and that's where it takes a lot of attention and learning to get to that point. But once you realize, this is, I guess it's not always, fun, but it's, the fulfilling side of it. It shouldn't just feel like a check, it's not like anything else on your to-do list. It's doing this for your eternal self.
Yeah, no, and that's something I struggle with sometimes. If it gets later in the day and I still haven't done my reading with my Bible, I'm like, dang, I got to spend another 10, 15 minutes doing that, especially after a long day of, traveling for basketball or something. And then you start reading, and then you get done and you just feel great. You just feel so at peace. All your anxieties, worries are gone for the most part. I do struggle with that sometimes. Definitely need to, like you said, find joy with your faith every single day, and not view the reading of your scripture or praying as something that you just have to do.
I think that's a challenge for everybody. So that's where we can help each other too.
Yeah, for sure.
So now kind of just one of these questions of, so in the modern age there's so many temptations, and like you said, for example, like you just mentioned a travel day, there's so much, there's just so much going on in those types of days. You have a day with 4 hours of practice, and you got lifts and recovery and all this stuff. And then you get out and it's you're just feeling tired. Then it's okay, there's social media, or I'll just go do this, or I'll just watch a movie, whatever it might be. There's all these types of temptations. what have you found has, maybe allowed you to not really succumb to those temptations? I mean, obviously we all do, but like, what's kind of been your go-tos for?
Yeah. I think one of the best things I've done, and I did it pretty early on, was delete TikTok.
Okay.
The app. I don't have TikTok anymore because I would find myself just scrolling and scrolling and watching really pointless videos that had no substance whatsoever. So I think that was a good thing for me. I try to limit my social media, but it is hard. Like it's a struggle because everyone's on it, everyone uses it. It's kind of the way to communicate with a lot of people now. Mm-hmm. I hope we're able to get to the point someday where we don't even need it. Myself, I don't need it. I hope so, because I think it is harmful to, especially this generation. I think it's what causes so much mental health struggles. So I think that's the single greatest temptation right now that people need to get away from, is spending so much time on social media and comparing themselves to others. Because, when people post something about their lives, they're only going to post the good for the most part. And then people are going to compare, like, oh, he's got this, he's doing this, whatever it is. They don't really show the real person on social media. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why people get trapped in this, it's a big temptation. They get trapped in it. They compare themselves, and it just causes a lot of struggles that are really unnecessary. So I think that's kind of the thing. The best thing to do is stay away from social media as much as you can. Mm-hmm. And a way I did that was delete TikTok, but I'm still on Instagram on the other stuff and try to limit that. But like I said, I think social media is a big problem.
Yeah. So I'm going to tie this kind of exactly what you just said back to the beginning with the comparison, because I was actually going to be my next question was, in this day and age, comparison is a big thing with social media. But then obviously I also know, from an athlete's perspective, getting recruited, like, how do I match up with this guy? Like, maybe, like position battle, like all of these, whichever way you want to look at it, comparison is, it's the thief of joy, what I mean? And so how have you kind of been able to root yourself and not letting comparison play a role in your life?
Yeah, I think I've done a good job of that the last 2 years, and I think that's why I've done better on the basketball floor. Is I really stopped comparing myself to others, basketball wise at least. Because in high school, I was a highly touted recruit, like you mentioned. I would compare myself constantly to all these other guys in my position, like, what's he good at, what's he not good at, and I just got dragged into this hole. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't even know some of the guys what they're doing anymore. So, it doesn't really matter. To comparing yourself to other athletes performance-wise is something that I got away from, because it was really harmful. And I think a lot of guys get trapped into this, like, oh, he's at this school, he's averaging more points, he's getting more playing time. Yep. Another aspect is he's getting more money there, more money here. Like, that's another aspect that a lot of people think of now, sadly, and compare themselves. Like, if I'm making X number and he's making double that somewhere else, you start to feel like you're less valued because someone else is making more money than you, and it's just pointless.
I mean, it's harmful because it's like we're putting a money value on someone's life, and that's
for sure,
exactly what the Bible's trying to steer us away from.
So. That's another aspect of that whole NIL and transfer portal stuff. It's just not great for kids. Yeah.
So I have a couple questions left, and this is kind of a section that I haven't been able to do with anybody else, because you're the only one that's in this sort of serious relationship. So you got engaged last spring, right? To your longtime girlfriend, now fiance, Sky McCune. Played at Creighton for volleyball. All this kind of just walk me through that. Obviously, just like I bet that was it still is a happy moment in your life and whatever. But just walk me through that.
It was special. We've been through a lot together. We've been together for almost 5 years now. Started dating in high school. And kind of how we met's kind of funny, and it just kind of reminds me that, God works in really weird ways, and sometimes you don't understand it, but at the end of the day, like, his plan is perfect. So she was committed here for volleyball, and I came here on a visit. You do those jersey pictures and all the stuff, so I throw it on my Instagram story, and then it doesn't really matter who reached out to who first. Like, we're not gonna discuss that on the podcast, but
Yeah.
it's just crazy how things work out because we literally met through social media. We lived 2 hours apart for a year in high school, and now we're engaged and getting married next year. Like,
awesome.
it's crazy how God works in these weird ways that you probably don't understand because the odds of us finding each other 2 hours away and ending up getting married were pretty low. But that happens in a lot of stories. Like, social media, I will say that is maybe one good thing about social media is that's how I met Sky. I probably shouldn't bash on it too much. But, no, it's been great. We've been through a lot together. So we lived 2 hours apart in high school. So, I mean, we'd still see each other a few times a month still. But when I went to Virginia, that was really challenging. And, we got through it. We it was a tough year because, we'd go 2 or 3 months without seeing each other. But I think since we were both grounded in our faith, we were always faithful to each other. We always prioritized each other. Made sure, that we were happy with how things were going and then kind of go from there. So, I think our faith definitely helped us get through that year. And then now it's just built because, we get to see each other all the time. We went to the same school for 3 years now. So that's been awesome. But I remember when we met, one of the first questions I asked her was if she was a believer. So and she was, and she's grown in her faith a ton. So it's kind of cool to see us grow together in that aspect.
Yeah, and definitely. I mean, obviously, kind of looking ahead to the wedding and getting married and kind of like starting a whole new chapter of your life and whatever. Like, how has that kind of played a role in like obviously you're both believers, and so like your family is going to be rooted in in being believers and kind of, but also like you said, like long distance, unhealthy relationships are one of the biggest things in common culture, and like obviously you guys overcame all of the barriers and maybe all the things that said like it wouldn't be possible, but it was, and definitely part of that is probably attributed to the faith you guys had in your faith lives. So just I guess maybe just talk a little bit more on just like kind of how that faith has really praying together or whatever, or maybe just some like things that you're kind of setting. You're being like, okay, like this is what's going to be an important piece of our marriage. Like we're going to go to church together and whatever, just like kind of keeping that healthy relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I think all those things that you mentioned are great. We've had talks about, we're going to be every Sunday, we're going to go to church every single Sunday. Obviously, we'll probably have kids that are athletes, so there might be times where we maybe can't do that. Just like we dealt with growing up, but we go to church together every single chance we get. Obviously couldn't today because we had lift and practice this morning, and that's just kind of how it goes with athletics. But just prioritizing our faith, making sure our kids grow up in a Christian household, and really raising them that way because that's how I was raised and that's how she was raised as well. So it's really cool that we came from 2 really good families and then try to build from that and have our own hopefully someday. So really looking forward to that, and God's blessed us in so many ways, and I know He'll continue to provide for us.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Congratulations to you and Sky.
Thank you.
Wish you guys the best.
Appreciate it.
So kind of just one more question. We kind of already hit on it, but do you have anything you want to add? Because usually I finish off my last question is ultimately what is the legacy that you want to leave as a Christian athlete? And I know we kind of already talked about that. So if you don't have anything else to add, we can kind of skip past it. But just anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think all of these kids, especially, all these young kids that come to games and stuff, and they love watching us play. They love getting autographs and all that stuff. Like, I hope they see us as more than just basketball players and really look up to us as role models. That's why I try to be, outspoken about my faith, outspoken about my diabetes, try to be, kind of using my platform to glorify God. And I hope that these young kids grow up. I hope that they're all Christian, and they're probably not all Christian, but inspiring those kids to not be afraid to glorify God with whatever platform they're given through. Maybe it's sports or something else, and then hopefully none of them are diabetic either. But like, just not being afraid to advocate for people and for God, and just kind of go from there.
Absolutely. So now we'll kind of getting towards the end and do the quote of the day, and then we'll finish off with some Bible reflection and prayer. But so the quote that I picked out was, like I mentioned, you did like the whole FS1 interview, whatever, which I invite all the viewers to look up and watch, because it's short, but it gives just a really good perspective on all of it. But one of the things you mentioned in that video was, your quote was, being a good basketball player is great and everything, but when you're able to inspire youth and athletes battling diabetes, that's what it's all about. I take pride in being a light for others. And I think when you are using your tool and the platform that you're given to inspire others, I think it's really special, because for some people, like, there's some athletes who don't even recognize how like inspirational it is. Like when there's little kids chanting your name and asking for your autograph, like, there's so many non-athletes that I feel like would like almost give up so much to be in that spot.
For sure.
And there's so many athletes that kind of that brush that aside.
Yeah.
And so then when there's someone like you who has that nature, where you realize the impact you have on them and you're trying to set a role model, but then you go even farther as like, you're going to be a role model of your Christian faith. You're going to be a role model as someone who's battled diabetes and playing basketball and showing that, it can't, like, it can't be an excuse for prevention. Cause like you said, like, you found ways to make it a blessing. And so I just think, I really enjoyed that quote, because I really just think it shows, like, I love the part where you said, take pride in being a light for others. Like, just having that smile on your face, like, God's going to deal us some hands sometimes that it's not going to be the greatest. Everyone has their own things they have to overcome, but just recognizing that each day we wake up is a blessing. Each day we have the ability to be a light for others and really just, like, show them that God overcomes all evil.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if anything else you want to add on that, but
I've never had the quote of the day be my own quote, so thanks for that. It's
yeah, absolutely.
pretty cool, but just that quote's not really just about diabetes. It's like you said, it's biblical too. Being a light for others, and kind of shining that light for Jesus every single day, the best we can.
Definitely.
Is what Christians are called to do.
Awesome. So now I'll kind of enter us into some prayer. We'll start off with some Bible reflection. So today's verse that I picked was from John 16, verses 25 through 33. Verse 33 was in one of my devotionals a couple days ago, and it was one of those that really kind of sticks with you.
Yeah.
Had it big circled, all that. So I'll kind of read us through this passage, and then I can share some of my thoughts on it, and then absolutely, if you want to, please jump in. But it goes, though I have been speaking figuratively, a time is coming when I will no longer use this kind of language, but will tell you plainly about my Father. In that day you will ask in my name. I am not saying that I will ask the Father on your behalf. No, the Father himself loves you because you have loved him, and have believed that I came from God. I came from the Father and entered the world. Now I am leaving the world and going back to the Father. Then Jesus' disciples said, now you are speaking clearly and without figures of speech. Now we can see that you know all things and that you do not even need to have anyone ask you questions. This makes us believe that you came from God. Do you now believe? Jesus replied. A time is coming, and in fact has come, when you will be scattered, each to your own home. You will leave me all alone. Yet I am not alone, for my Father is with me. I have told you these things, so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. So I guess I'll start off with what kind of was hitting at me. I really like the part, verse 27, where it says, no, the Father himself loves you because you have loved me and have believed that I came from God. I just think kind of, so obviously I'm a Catholic, and so the Trinity is obviously a thing in the Catholic faith, and I think it confuses a lot of people, and just like God and Jesus and like kind of their relationship. And so that's a whole different kind of side of that. But I just think like having this love for God and all we do is super crucial, and kind of just not losing sight of that. But then what really got me was verse 33 when it ended out, and it said, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I've overcome the world. Being a college student, for both of us, this is probably, the last 4 years of our lives, and the future 4 years of our lives are probably like some of the heaviest times of temptation and like kind of all the evil things of the world, not to make it sound all scary, but like we're going through a lot of things. And obviously everyone is at different times in their lives, but there's some points where I'm struggling with something and I'm like I just can't imagine like this not being a problem in my life. But then I have to think like Jesus, especially like the 40 days in the desert, like he was tempted with everything you can imagine by the devil, and he overcame it with flying colors. You know what I mean? And so I think sometimes finding my strength in God is something I really try and do. You know, placing that trust in Him and finding the strength in Him, and knowing that He's overcome the world. There's nothing He hasn't seen, and that I can make mistakes because, you know, there's a lot of things in our society today where you're going to make mistakes. Like, that's just how a lot of things are made, is we're made to slip up. But finding the ways of, okay, I can overcome it because Jesus has overcome it and He's right there by my side. Like, He's waiting for me. I think it was just super powerful to me, knowing, like, I'm not the first person. Like, Jesus isn't making me walk this road for the first time. Like, He's walked it before, and He's waiting there and, you know, watching over us the entire time. So
Yeah, that's really good. I like the last verse especially. You know, when times are tough and things aren't going your way, you know, as a believer, we're still saved. Like, we're still going to get to spend eternity with Him, and having that perspective is really important because sometimes it's hard when life gets so busy and all these things. So I will say at UVA under Coach Bennett, before every single game, before we'd go out, we'd do the prayer, and then he would just tell us that we're covered, and basically means that, yeah, Jesus overcame the world. He died on the cross for our sins. So we're able to just play with whatever, you know, just play with joy and just play as hard as we can, knowing that at the end of the day, you know, the result of the game isn't what matters. It's that, you know, Jesus died for us. And
Absolutely.
That's something that has stuck with me throughout my playing career. And it's not just basketball. That's just everyday life. You know, we're covered.
Absolutely. Well, if you don't mind, we'll finish off in some prayer here, and then we'll kind of do a little sign off. But so I'll start by just kind of praying over you, and then if you want to hop in after I'm done, then we'll call it a day. So, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the gift of having this conversation with Isaac today. I ask that you continue to use him as a light of the world, like he mentioned, and just allow him to be a positive influence for people that are young, people that are his age, people that are older. Just allow him and his faith to be a model for how we can overcome things in our lives. I ask that you continue to watch over him and, you know, protect him, bless him and all of his teammates, his coaches, that they might finish out this season strong, knowing that at the end of the day, playing to the glory of you is the most important thing. And I just ask that you continue to shine your light upon us so that we might continue to use our platforms to spread the word of Jesus. We thank you for these blessings you've bestowed on our lives. Like we've mentioned several times today, every day is a blessing, and we're super grateful to be here in this, you know, this warm building as it's very, very cold lately, and just not overlooking all the things you've bestowed us with so that we might use all of our blessings to further expand the kingdom of God. But
Amen.
So, well, first of all, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
I had a blast.
Yeah,
Had
it's
some
fun.
great conversations. So yeah, we'll get this uploaded the next day or two, and then you can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, any of those things. How I've been ending off my podcast last couple episodes is, do you have any person, could be any person, that you want to shout out and kind of put them on the spot to be the next guest of the podcast?
Oh, I do. He plays for the rival school, Cale
Okay.
Jacobson at Nebraska.
Okay.
He would be really good on this if he were able to make that work
Awesome.
and get the time for it. I think you'd enjoy talking to him. He's one of my best friends, so I think it'd be good.
We'll tag him up and
Yeah,
put him on the spot. And
We'll see
someone's
if the
gotta do
other
it.
side will join us.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and God bless everybody, and I hope you have a great day. So.
Thank you.